Hi, I wanted to just take a minute and talk with you about fairness. What's fair and what is unfair? And this is again intended to kind of help us think through what's going on around us and our response to it. The reason that this is important to me, at least it's a subject of importance to me, is I think it has medical and dental associations to how people take care of themselves and what they make, how they decide to do things for themselves. Today I went to the Subway app. I downloaded that a few days ago and I tried it out, but I didn't do very well with it. I didn't know how to make changes to my order, and I thought originally that it had promised me 2 foot longs as a deal because I just downloaded the app. I went in and found that it only gave me the one sandwich, not the two I'd thought. And then I said, well, I've ordered some chips, and they said, well, pick them up. And I picked up what I thought were the right chips, and they were the Cheetos with the flaming hot sauce material on them, which I really don't do well with, frankly. You eat a whole bag of that. That's hard on my mouth and then on my stomach, and so I ended up taking one bite to see if I could tolerate it. Decided I didn't like it, threw it away. Ate the one sandwich. It was okay, but it wasn't the way I'd normally have it. Um, so that was my first encounter with the Subway app, and then today, 2 days later, I'm trying it again, and I see, well, I can still try for that second sandwich because I went in and I said, where's my second sandwich? And they said, well, you didn't do the app right. So I said, okay. So this time I did everything right, and I ordered the sandwiches, and I was able to put on the things I wanted and all of the other things. I got the extra foot long for nothing, which is a real bargain. And I went in, and now the Subway is only taking walk-in orders. There's no place to sit down in the store because of the coronavirus. I I say that we all know the coronavirus, but if anybody sees this thing years from now and wonders what he's talking about, this is where we are. And so I go in and I give him my name. This is a different store, by the way. Walk in, there's the bag, pick it up. I say, I get some bags of chips or a bag of chips. She hands me two. Oh, I'm thinking, oh, this is good. And I walk out and I drive here to the trailer, thinking I'm going to do a little video update maybe for you folks and just to talk. And I open the package and discover that these are not my sandwiches. And so this is round two, and I haven't quite gotten out of it what I had expected. But then I found, whoever ordered this did a pretty good job, and it's the sandwich I'm eating. I'm looking down at the sandwich that I was eating. Looks pretty good, and it tastes fine. So as I was driving here, I was thinking about how people respond to calamities, to hardship, to sudden surprises. In the last video we talked about, or I talked about, what it feels like when your lip goes numb and your brain interprets this as the lip getting large. And that's how we deal with fear. When we don't know things, things in our brain go out of whack, and everything is much more threatening and fearful and difficult to manage. This time I wanted to think about resentment and jealousy and the frustration that things are not going my way and this is not fair. And I'm going to only say this once, and that is life isn't fair. It never was fair. And in fact, if we were to talk really about fairness right now, I don't think it's fair for those who are working their tails off, um, my assistant Carlos went into HEB, the grocery store here in this part of Texas, and asked one of the workers there, "How are you doing?" And she looked tired, he said, and her eyes were droopy. She says, "We're just coming off like a 15-hour job here trying to stack the shelves, and then when the door opens in the morning, in about an hour and a half, it's the shelves, all of the stuff is gone again." And she looks exhausted. Well, that isn't fair, is it? I mean, I had a good night's sleep because I didn't have a patient to see in the morning. Came in a little later and we talked about what we're going to do in terms of management of our time. And in all of this, it's not fair that it's breaking out the way it is. And we could say, well, it isn't fair. I'm not making an income either, and then I have debts and bills. But we multiply that over the whole country and even the world. And the relative discomfort I'm feeling at the moment is mostly in my head, not physically. And I'm not having the virus right now, fortunately, which might be a setback, certainly. I could get sick, and I might, and so might you. So those are things that could occur. The chances of us getting through this and coming out on the other side physically are good. The difficulties that this is creating for us as a society are real. But if I think about fairness, about who gets what, and how this all works out, and whether or not I get enough of my own, or I can beat the system in some regard, or this or that, I think that it's not going to be a healthy way to live, and it will build up resentments even after the crisis is over. So I would say that I have to cast off this idea of fairness as impractical and unusable for life. That really it would be better for me to think in terms of what are we trying to accomplish for the good of others, and in the idea of others we can put ourselves. What's the best way that all of us can get through this together? And I think we know the answer. It is to care for one another and to deal with the trials that we're facing with grace and with kindness, and that these are expressions of character. And if we're feeling like we're being used and abused and life is unfair, I think it's at that point we need to have a talk with ourselves and calm down. And if we're gonna go back in this whole thing afterwards and do an autopsy of everything and decide, did everybody do the right thing, and if not, who can we hold blame for things? I think again we're not operating correctly for the management of our own lives and for our own mental health. I do think certainly we're going to have to look at everything afterwards and determine what worked and what didn't. But if the objective is just to point fingers at other people and to blame others, I don't think that that's really making me a stronger person, a healthier person, a more loving person, a kind person. And if that is what results in me getting it quote unquote right, that I was right and it all worked out terribly as I thought it would, that ultimately I'm the one that's going to pay a price in terms of my overall enjoyment of the life I have been given. Because ultimately, even in this whole thing about fairness, I don't know that it's fair to the extent that we have the good things that we have. And I think that it gets down to the point of operating with an idea of exercising gratitude, to think about the things we're grateful for and the people we're grateful for, and to focus on these things and not dwell on the circumstances that are difficult. And I will tell you, we see this in a lot of people around us who show the character within their own worlds if they're dealing with cancer or traumatic injuries or whatever that it may be, financial setbacks. They have reasons to complain, yet they don't. And they are an inspiration to us. And we now have an opportunity to be an inspiration to others by the way we behave and the way we are kind to one another. And I'd say just slough it off. If it seems unfair, I think the conclusion is you're right. It is unfair. There's nothing fair about it, and there's no way in this life we're going to balance the scales. So maybe that isn't what this life is about. Maybe this life is about walking through it and appreciating what we can and dealing with the hardships as best we can and encouraging one another and hanging in there. That's all I got today. I hope you have a good day, and I hope that you can give a fist bump to those you care about and not hug them too closely, and we'll get through this. Thanks. Bye.